53, Standing Order 53, but in particular, Standing Order 160. Mr. Speaker, I'm raising this issue so that the leader of government business will provide clarity and certainty to an important matter of public interest and for purposes of the Ghanaian economy and fiscal consolidation. Mr. Speaker, Order 1602 provides, maybe I should just read one. There shall be a business committee consisting of members, that's not my interest, but Hansard to look at it. It shall be the function of the committee subject to Order 53, Order of Business, to determine the business of each sitting and the order in which it shall be taken. Mr. Speaker, last Friday, there was effort to introduce the e-levy, and for the second reading of the e-levy, to debate the principles of the e-levy. Mr. Speaker, we need to know, earlier on when we adopted the business statement for the previous week, the e-levy we were told would have been introduced tomorrow. Now we get it introduced on Friday. And then today, as I watch the order of business pursuant to Standing Order 53, I do not see anything relating to the e-levy. Mr. Speaker, on this important matter, there can be no surprises. So we want the leader of government business to lead us through. When will it be? If it's to be reintroduced, a new bill, or Article 106, the bill is gazetted for us to know, or we are continuing wanting under Article 106 to suspend our standing order to take it as a matter of urgency. Mr. Speaker, members need to know, because on this matter, as we have publicly said, we want to stand with the public in our position and rejection of the bill. We don't want to be taken by surprises. So let the leader of government business indicate to us when the bill will come to Parliament and in what form we should anticipate or expect it. We cannot continue with this uncertainty Friday, Tuesday, tomorrow, Wednesday. When will we subject the e-levy to a thorough debate of its principles and walk through it through consideration to third reading, standing for its rejection? We are decided. So, Mr. Speaker, I thought that I should raise this matter so that the chairman of the business committee will do what is appropriate within our standing orders, carrying us along as required of us under Order 160 of our standing orders and Article 106. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The House may recollect when I came to present the business statement for this week. Indeed, for last week, there was no indication that the e-levy bill was going to be taken. That is true. But, Mr. Speaker, subsequent to that, there was some engagement between the two caucuses, that's the leadership of the caucuses. And it was determined that the e-levy bill would be introduced in the House last week, Friday. The Speaker, at the Speaker's conclave, we further had this discussion. So it was not a matter of surprise. The Speaker, when I came to presenting the business statement for this week, I said, if we're able to conclude the discussions on the way forward for the e-levy, it will be introduced in the House on Friday. If we couldn't finish, then it will come this week. Now, the course of the discussion facilitated the introduction in the House on Friday. And, Speaker, as you all witnessed, we couldn't make much progress, which is why I said to us that if we couldn't, then it will come to this week. So, Speaker, even before walking in here, the minority leader, who is the ranking member of the Business Committee, asked about the status, and I told him that we will come to some determination, even though it's been advertised for tomorrow. So you look at the supplementary water paper today. The Speaker, you will see the provisional order paper. You will see it advertised for tomorrow. But even that, I told him that we need to confer on that because to all intents and purposes, we may not be able to do it tomorrow. So he asked whether that was an assurance. And I said to him that that is double assurance. That certainly it will not come off tomorrow. But we'll determine when together. I have given you that assurance. So it's not as if anybody wants to spring any surprise. It will have to be decided on, and I will signal him, and then we agree on a common date. The Speaker, the minority leader is adding that they have taken a position, that they want to stand with the public to reject the e-levy. And he says that with all emphasis. The Speaker, we on this side want to stand with the Republic to ensure the revitalization of the economy. We want to stand with the Republic to ensure the revitalization of the economy. If people want to see the collapse of the economy, so be it for them. We want to stand with the Republic. Speaker, thank you very much.
An issue is supposed to rest. Mr. Speaker, as you may know, pursuant to Order 160, we need to have clarity. That is why we always have the business statement. And the majority leader is telling us that even as in the business statement for this week, it's indicated that tomorrow will be a day for e-levy. He is telling us now that it cannot be tomorrow, but he will liaise with my minority leader to get a tentative date. Mr. Speaker, as the majority leader may know, the House works with the business statement. If there is a need for any variation, it is either we are not taking it, and then we'll meet at business committee again to reschedule when it can happen, but not to be between the two leaders, because members need to know, and all of us need to know, so that people can plan what they may want to do during the week. So I want to plead with the majority leader. If he is not sure it can happen this week, he should say so. But if he is certain that it can happen this week, he should tell us when, so that we can all be adequately prepared. Since he's telling us now that it cannot be as programmed on the business statement. But with his comment about standing with the Republic, I can assure him that we are all standing with the Republic. All of us are standing with the Republic, because the suffering of the masses, the suffering of the masses, and the masses represent the Republic. We stand firmly with them in the rejection of the e-levy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you for the opportunity to render this well-deserved eulogy in honor of the memory of the Honorable Mummuni Abudu Seidu. Popularly in this chamber, he was referred to as M.A. Seidu, an illustrious Ghanaian, a distinguished statesman, celebrated educationist, and a worthy Ghanaian sportsman. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable M.A. Seidu was born on the 4th of January 1939 in the then Northern Territories, now the Upper West Regional Capital, to the late Na Abudu Mummuni, paramount chief of the Dormo traditional area, also a former member of Ghana's Legislative Assembly, and Madam Ajara Dan Ibu, a princess of the Danko traditional area. He began his early education journey at the Wa Primary Boarding School in 1946 up to 1952, and proceeded to the Wa Middle Boarding School from 1952, completing in 1956. Mr. Speaker, the late M.A. Seidu's test for academic laurels found him on the hills of Agri Memorial Zion Secondary School in Cape Coast from 1956 to 1960, where he obtained the GCO level certificate. Mr. Speaker, the late MSc subsequently enrolled into the Wesley College in Kumasi in the Ashanti region to pursue a course in teacher training, which lasted for 2 years, 1960 to 1962. He proceeded to the University of Ghana, Legon, to obtain a first degree in political science and history from 1966 to 1969, and between 1971 and 1972, he was admitted to the University of Cape Coast for his postgraduate studies to pursue other courses to better equip himself with the needed competence and professional qualification to discharge his duties and obligations in the educational sector. Mr. Speaker, the late M.A. Seidu was a born teacher and educationist whose life was dedicated to that cause. Indeed, it was a channel through which he impacted most into the lives of many accomplished Ghanaians today. He started his classroom in 1961 to 1963. As I indicated, he was at the World Teacher Training College, the Hansard Department, to capture the rest of the text. Mr. Speaker, as Ghana ushered in the Fourth Republic, his politics and statesmanship, the late M.A. Seidu was elected the first member of parliament for the Wa Central constituency, which covered the geographical area now known as the Wa Central and Wa West constituencies. He contested and won on the ticket of the National Democratic Congress for 3 consecutive terms, 1992, 1996, and in 2000. Whilst representing the people of Wa Central, the late M.A. Seidu was very well respected within and outside Parliament with his calm, very accommodating and unifying disposition. I hope his death will inspire many of us to learn that in leadership you needed to be calm and you need to maintain a disposition that attracts others. Mr. Speaker, the late M.A. Seidu served on a number of committees between 1993 and 2005, including the Foreign Affairs Committee, Education Committee, Social Welfare and State Enterprise Committee, the Business Committee, Finance Committee, and the Judiciary. He served in the leadership of Parliament as Deputy Majority Leader, where he matured. He was a very soft-spoken and affable person, and he contributed his bit in the Second Parliament of the Fourth Republic from 1997 to 2001. Within the same period, Mr. Speaker, from 1997 to 2001, he was appointed by President Jerry John Rawlings to serve as Minister of State at the presidency. Mr. Speaker, just to eulogize him, I have just picked one quote and from the Hansard. He was passionate about Ghana's education, contributing to the Ghana Education Service Bill on 19 July 1995. The official report of Parliament captures his remark as follows. Mr. Speaker, I quote, "It has always been introduced at a time I would consider the Ghana education system to be at crossroads." Crossroads, what do I mean by that? It looks as if the expected enrollment that we want has not been achieved. Taking into consideration that the fee-free compulsory education was introduced in this country since 1961. As at now, statistics indicate that only about 75% of children in the southern sector and 30% in the northern sector of school-going age gained admission or were really in school. So I think there is still a lot to be done. This was his contribution to the education bill. Mr. Speaker, much later in life, he was a pioneering member of the National Peace Council. In 2011, then President J.E.A. Mills personally inaugurated the council on 10 November 2011 with him as part of it. Mr. Speaker, he received several awards, including a certificate of recognition presented on the 5th day of January 2005 in recognition of his significant contribution to the success of the Third Parliament of the Fourth Republic of Ghana. He also received a meritorious award by the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council on the occasion of the 25th anniversary of the creation of the region. Upper West Achievers Award 2016 at the 7th edition of the award scheme, and an award for distinguished service to his former school, Agri Memorial AME Zion Secondary School. Mr. Speaker, he also had the rare opportunity to serve on the National Media Commission, NMC, from 2001 to 2005, where he contributed to the deepening of fundamental freedoms, including media freedoms. Mr. Speaker, it is worth
noting that some of the prominent students of the late M.A. Seydu include current Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Alban Sumana Bagbin, Justice Yoni Kulendi of the Supreme Court of Ghana, Professor Robert Yene of the University of Ghana.
At the moment, there are no delays in payment of salaries for the program staff, who normally will submit salary requests, and when it's approved, it is then sent to the bank and staff accounts are credited. They are paid with Global Fund resources. For October salaries, the memo for salary request was submitted and payment approved on the 20th, 27th for National HIV/AIDS Control Program and National Malaria and TB Control Programs, respectively. So their salaries have been paid. Mr. Speaker, contracts of some staff were in local currency. However, payments are made in dollars using the dollar to CD conversion rate of 3.5 dollars, cedis to the dollar. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, I have to make a little bit of correction here in the answer. Contracts of some staff are paid in local currency, but salaries are actually quoted in dollars, using the dollar rate of 3.5 cedis to the dollar. With dollar depreciating by day, a dollar to cedi conversion rate went up to 4.3 cedis. Staff paid themselves using the new SN rate, which must be deducted. The rationale here is that Global Fund pegged the conversion at 3.5 because anytime dollar depreciates and you change it, it distorts salary systems within the health sector. So you see some union staff drivers probably earning more than some medical officers. Okay. From January to April, Mr. Speaker, contracts had expired and staff had to be reissued with new contracts. However, because they had received unearned salaries, they refused to be paid with the dollar to see the conversion rate of 3.5 and agreed to wait until new agreement was made with Global Fund. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Who was on his feet, said he is one of the affected persons. Mr. Speaker, these were his words. You don't use parliamentary privilege to litigate a personal claim. Mr. Speaker, we need to get the construct right. He said, and these were his words, that he is one of them. If you have a claim against the institution, yeah, so you used to work, so you are affected person. You said so. You used to work there, and that you are one of the affected persons. These were his words. Mr. Speaker, my friends should not be shouting. We need to get things right. You used to work there. You are an affected person. It means that you are also affected. That is what you are saying. If you have an issue, you either go to court or pursue it. Don't use parliament.
Conflict of interest.
Is he not in conflict? Mr. Speaker, if he is not so, he should get up again and say that he is not one of the affected. Maybe he slipped.
Honorable member, are you asking a question?
Mr. Speaker, I'm glad my colleague has said that he is not personally interested. Maybe he'll be close to those who are working there, part of his constituents. Yes, so it's okay. Mr. Speaker, he mentioned those who are being paid with 4.3. They are the people we are deducting what they overpaid themselves from their salaries. They didn't seek approval. They just changed the rate from 3.5 to 4.3. And these affected people are those we are deducting the illegal payments from their salaries. And we fought on this matter for more than 1 year. And that held their salaries for about 4 months in 2021. So that is what explains why some got paid with 4.3 and some stayed at 3.5. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I'm glad my colleague has said that he is not personally interested. Maybe he'll be close to those who are working there, part of his constituents. Yes, so it's okay. Mr. Speaker, he mentioned those who are being paid with 4.3. They are the people we are deducting what they overpaid themselves from their salaries. They didn't seek approval. They just changed the rate from 3.5 to 4.3. And these affected people are those we are deducting the illegal payments from their salaries. And we fought on this matter for more than 1 year. And that held their salaries for about 4 months in 2021. So that is what explains why some got paid with 4.3 and some stayed at 3.5. Thank you.
Yes.
The people who enjoy the unearned salary, some of them are no more another program. How are you retrieving the difference, that unearned portion? How are you retrieving that, since they are no more working with the ministry?
Yes.
Engage them, and they have agreed that we bring it back from 4.3 to 3.5. And so we calculated what they earned between the 3.5 and 4.3 to the time they stopped. And that amount is what we are deducting over a number of months. We are not doing it at a go to let them suffer challenges. And that is the deductions that I've been talking about.
I'm referring to those who earn that difference, but are no more working with the Ghana Health Service or the fund. How are you retrieving the money from those people who are no more with the ministry?
Mr. Speaker, fortunately for us, almost all of them are in the system. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well.
I have a preliminary remark on page 15. There was an earlier question on Kekele Hospital. I've realized that an answer or part answer has been provided on page 15 on Kekele Hospital, even though
The
it's not a
answer will be
substantive.
given by the minister. So you ask your question.
No,
If
he said
there are
the
any
question
issues
is not.
to come up.
Mr. Speaker, actually, that question is not part of today's
He
question.
has already stated so.
Oh,
That
very
some
well.
answer there does not belong there.
Very well, very honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Health the steps being taken by the ministry to address the safety and security concerns of Panther Hospital staff, which is the basis of series of strike actions on account of allegations of encroachment of the Panther Hospital land.
Mr. Speaker. Currently, the Minister of Health has taken all necessary steps to construct a fence wall around the perimeters of the facility to enhance the safety of personnel in the hospital. In addition to a 24-hour security, a 24-hour security has been provided for the management, staff, and patients in and around the hospital environment. And my colleague, I think, is aware of this because at one stage I was consulting him. Mr. Speaker, the Lankwantana Medina Municipal Assembly has also initiated a court process for a restraining order to stop private developers from further constructions on the hospital's property. Again, the Minister of Health, assisted by the Assembly, will ensure that structures without the Assembly's permit on the land are duly demolished, and we are working towards that. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Interior and National Security have actually posted adequate police personnel to the hospital's police post. And the Ministry for Lands and Natural Resources is also facilitating us through their Lands Commission to ensure that areas that have been fully developed that they claim is not ours, if that is correct, will be compulsorily purchased so that we will have peace in the facility. We are collaborating with all these ministries in our efforts to restore peace on the land. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any benchmarks or timelines for some of these steps being taken by the ministry?
To avoid giving benchmarks for any activity, especially when you ask somebody to come for money. 1 week, then he will come. Then the money hasn't dropped, so you don't have it. So I try to avoid benchmarks. In this particular instance, it's a continuous process. We can't have benchmarks, especially with the court system. A court process is underway. I don't control the judges or the bailiffs or nobody in the court. So when I give a benchmark here, I'll be goofy. So I've agreed with my colleague to let us end the benchmark question and let us see how best me and him can collaborate with the assembly where he belongs to try to see if we can bring peace in that area. Our problem with hospital lands and encroachment is not only Lampantanai. So I've set up a small committee in the ministry headed by a deputy minister to be working on these encroachment issues. Tema, Cape Coast, Lampantanai, everywhere. You know, hospitals in the olden days were built with land around, and people are just encroaching. And it's like money to do fence wall across all of them becomes challenging. And that is why we are finding it difficult to protect all these lands. But we are making all necessary efforts, at least for Pantanai, for protection. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.